Greetings, booktubers, and welcome back to Grammaticus Books. Welcome back to a Sunday Comics hidden comic book gem edition of Grammaticus Books. And today's hidden comic book gem is very well hidden. I don't think many people out here watching this video are going to have heard of this comic book before, which is why I'm making it, because it's a stupendous comic book. It's just a masterpiece of graphic art. And I know I'm tossing superlatives out right off of the bat, but this comic certainly deserves it. And the comic is Wormy by Dave Trampier. That is Wormy. It's a little hard to say sometimes, by Dave Trampier, which was created for TSR, the company that was doing Dungeons and Dragons, Gary Gygax, Dave Arneson. And the comic came out in 1977. It's a product of Dave Trampier, and Dave Trampier was an artist in the bullpen working for TSR. Again, the company making Dungeons and Dragons. And he started off in Dungeons and Dragons with TSR, doing inserts, illustrating monster manuals and other types of artwork for the company. And he would also do artwork in adventure modules that they published. So like right here, you have Hall of the Fire Giant King, which is one of their classics. And on the back, you've got a piece of Dave Trampier artwork. And it's just wonderful. It's just absolutely brilliant little capture of two adventurers arriving at the gates to the Hall of the Fire Giant King. And then inside, you've got Dave Trampier doing a Fire Giant rendition that is just absolutely brilliant. I mean, look at the way that he's able to conceive of and then bring to life a Fire Giant like nobody else could. And he's working in this bullpen, this stable, and he quickly establishes himself as one of the best, if not the best artist working for TSR. So TSR continues to employ him to do artwork such as this iconic piece here in the Player's Handbook. Probably his most famous piece of artwork. This piece of artwork has been repeated, copied, and eulogized to the point where it's just become a meme. But it is absolutely considered like one of the most epic and iconic pieces of artwork within Dungeons and Dragons, and widely considered to be one of his best pieces. It's an excellent piece, but for my money, it's not the best piece of artwork that he did. The best piece of artwork they did was for the back of the Dungeon Master's screen, which is right here, which is a wraparound. This folds out. I want to say this was 1980, but I am not opening this. It is extremely fragile. Finding one of these that's actually intact these days is almost impossible. So it will remain unopened. I'm not going to bend it, but just look at that. Look at how vibrant the colors are. Look at the layout. Look at how well everything is rendered and conceived and put down, and how beautiful it is. And all of the colors on here are done with felt tip pens. His primary means of coloring his artwork was using barrel felt tip pens. And it was just fantastic. Look at the dragon and the flames coming out. And that is probably Dave Trampier himself, that he's put himself in there. That looks astonishingly like Mr. Trampier. And this piece of art was originally intended to be for the back glass on a pinball machine, but the pinball machine never got made, so they took the art and they put it onto the Dungeon Master's screen. So Dave Trampier is one of the top, if not the top artists working for TSR, and TSR starts putting out Dragon magazines starting, oh boy, I think in 1977 is when they started, either 77 or 76, and they publish a monthly magazine called The Dragon, which they help to promote and sell Dungeons and Dragons material. And this has adventure modules, it has articles, it has comic strips as well in it, and a lot of other information and material in order to promote the game. And they ask Dave Trampier to contribute a running comic book-like strip in the magazine. And he does, starting with issue number 9, and it goes all the way through to issue number 132 in 1988. And it has 1 to 4 pages in each issue of Dragon magazine, and that's where this thing is published. And it's called Wormy because Wormy is the main character. Wormy is a green dragon who lives in his lair within this magical forest where everything takes place. He's the head character, the main or titular character, I should say. And he wears a newspaper boy cap, and he likes to hustle, pull, and smoke cigars. So the entire comic strip revolves around the monsters living in sort of this enchanted forest. It's very much based off of the old comic strip Pogo, which was all about woodland animals living in a forest as well, except he's taken that idea and he's rendered it with all of the monsters. When human or adventurers or paladin types show up in here. They're outsiders, they're strangers, and they are quickly shown the exits, and the story focuses around the monsters. And while I'm talking about this, I'm going to put up whole pages of artwork from Wormy over here. And feel free to pause the video and just take a look at how beautifully it's rendered. And I think by the end of the video, you'll be as big a fan of Wormy as I am. But the story starts with Wormy here, who has stolen a bunch of bowling balls from a pack of traveling dwarves that he's now using to play snooker on his pool table. And then the dwarves come and they want their bowling balls back, and a fight ensues. And it turns out that the bowling balls are in fact not bowling balls, but are demon eggs. And if you crack one, a very nasty demon comes out. And these bowling ball / demon eggs then become the germ, the seminal point for an arc of stories that goes off from here with all different types of characters. Ogres, trolls, fire imps, a minotaur who's a redneck minotaur in suspenders and overalls with one eye, who's named Ace, and his bloodhound cyclops dog who's named Hambone. And you have all these characters that arc off from this main one story point that initiates it with these bowling balls. And then they merge back together, and they go apart, and they merge back together over the course of almost 11 years. And it's absolutely wonderful. It's just a fantastic magazine, or I should say comic book and magazine. But it starts off, and I won't call it crude, but it has not reached the pinnacle that it gets to. It's a basic comic strip comic book that's running in series within Dragon Magazine. But it goes from this quickly to something that is very, very good, with a very good story, to something that's an absolute masterpiece, that just the artwork just glows and pops off of the page. And it's just wonderful. And with the story here, he's doing all the artwork, Dave Trampier. He does everything. He writes the story, he pencils it in, he lays out the panels, he does the ink work, he does the coloring, again with felt tip pens, and he does all the lettering himself. And he does it in such a way where he just draws your eye across the page with just these superb panel layouts, these superb layouts, and it's just vibrant, and the characters are just filled with personality, and he gets them such expressive looks, I want to say expressions and double my words here, on the page that are just wonderful. And it's really kind of magical, and it has its own charm to it with this great story that blends in with it. And it just becomes this superb work of art that is unfolding in these Dragon magazines. And people start buying the Dragon magazines just for the Wormy artwork in it. The Wormy artwork is selling it on its own because it's so stupendous. And I'm going to show you one of them in here. This is issue number 96 of Dragon Magazine. And you have a troll and his little imp friend Bender, who are off on one of their adventures on a side quest. And just take a look at it. Take a look at how well it's rendered, how well it's laid out. Take a look at the colors and how he's able to use his lighting sources and the colors to just make everything pop and draw your eye to the exact points and pages on the page that he wants to draw your eye to. And then you've got a splash page on the back over here as they find this trading post in this underground cavern in an underground lake. And it's just beautiful. And the entire comic book gets to this level of quality that is just amazing here inside of these Dragon magazines, which, again, these are running from issues 9 through 132. So it's absolutely wonderful. He also comes up with a way of expressing magical spells. There's a magician, an evil magician named Grimorley, who makes his appearance, who brings in one of his servants, or servant's the wrong word, a monster that is bound to him called Shadowcat, which is this interdimensional being that's absolutely just beautifully rendered. I'll put it up here so you can take a look at him. And this Grimorley casts spells as he's trying to steal these demon balls that start off the whole comic book series. And his method of rendering spells is truly unique, it's original, and it's very impactful. It has a power to it all its own, and you have to see it. And again, I'll put all these up here so you can take a look at it, where he uses runes in order to craft the spells on the pages. And it just makes it pop out and brings it to life in a way that like a bolt of energy coming out of someone's hand, a wizard's hand just couldn't do. But this is the comic book. Again, it runs from issue number 9 all the way to issue number 132 for almost 11 years. And then it stops suddenly. And the reason that it stops is because Dave Trampier disappears. He pulls an Agatha Christie. The paychecks that are being mailed to him by TSR are coming back unopened with address undeliverable. And nobody knows what has happened to him. Even his close relatives aren't sure exactly what's happened to him. And TSR for a period thinks that he's passed away, that he's died. So he drops off the face of planet Earth basically in 1988, and nobody sees Dave Trampier or knows where he is until 2005. And in 2005, a student who's going to a university in Southern Illinois and is a journalist working for the student newspaper goes out and does a ride-along with a nighttime cab driver in Carbondale, Illinois. He's working for the Daily Egyptian newspaper with this university, and he does this ride-along so he can write a story. And the name of the story is Coffee, Cigarettes, and Speed Bumps. And it's his story of doing this ride-along. And at the end of the story, he snaps a photograph of the cab driver that he did the ride-along with, and he publishes it in the newspaper. And lo and behold, it's Dave Trampier. And he's immediately recognized, and the industry guys reach out to him, TSR reaches out to him, other people reach out to him, and they try to engage him because he is the top premier artist who's ever created this role-playing graphic artwork in the industry. He's a giant in the field, but he makes it clear in no uncertain terms he doesn't want anything to do with the industry, and particularly with TSR. Apparently there was some type of a dispute, and TSR sort of hinted that there may have been mental issues going on. I don't know if that's true. But he makes it absolutely clear in 2005 he doesn't want anything to do with anybody or with artwork anymore or with the role-playing game industry. And that goes until 2014. And in 2014, Dave Trampier reaches out to the industry again, not TSR. He never spoke to TSR, had dealings with them after 1988. And he says that he wants to come back, and he wants to go to a convention that's being held in 2014 to display artwork and talk about putting together an anthology to collect all of the Wormies in the Dragon magazines and publish a Wormy anthology, which would have been fantastic. And if one was published, I would certainly own it right away. Unfortunately, as they're making arrangements to get him to the convention, he passes away from cancer at the age of 59. And it's just an absolutely tragic tale of Dave Trampier. But that's Wormy. It's just a stupendous masterpiece of a comic book. If you've been checking out the pages over here, which I hope that you have, I think you'll agree with me that it is just a beautifully rendered, beautifully written, charming comic that really doesn't have a parallel out there in the comic book industry and deserves to get a lot more credit than it gets today. And I think that's because it never really got published in a format where you could put it all together in that anthology. It never happened. And it was only being published in serial form in these Dragon magazines, which is a shame. So I brought it up here to you guys' attention. Hopefully you guys liked it a lot. If you're trying to collect this on your own, your options are not good, to be honest. There is no anthology to buy. You could try going out and collecting all of the Dragon magazines, issues number 7 through 132, but that would be cost prohibitive. The price on these Dragon magazines, particularly the early issues, and anything in the single digit range, even for a Dragon magazine that is just absolutely beat to heck, is going to run you in the hundreds to the thousands of dollars to buy them. The prices on those early issues of Dragon magazine are just exorbitant. The other option that you have, though, is that you could buy a CD on eBay. They produced a compact disc that collected all of the Dragon magazines, every page of them, from issues 1 through I think it's 200, and they published it in a CD. They're available on eBay. They're going to run you about a C note for those, but that's certainly better than trying to go out and get all these Dragon magazines. And that's a way that you could get and copy out and put together on your own out of that disc the artwork and the story of Wormy magazine, like this right here. The other option is there are online Wormy archives. I am not going to link them down below. That's on, the only one that's left now is on Angel Fire, And I would not access it unless you have a very good antivirus suite on your computer. So that is the unfortunate news when it comes to trying to get access to this artwork. I would say that your best bet is to look for that CD, or if you're feeling rather brave, you can click on that archive, the Wormy archive, just put it into Google and it'll come up. But it's a fantastic magazine. I hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. I would love to hear your comments down in the comments section. Let me know if you're aware of Wormy, what you thought of Wormy, if you were collecting Wormy, if you've never seen Wormy before and this is the first time, what did you think of it? Do you think that all those superlatives that I threw out over the course of this video were warranted, or were they unwarranted? Is this something you like? If you know Dave Trampier or of his artwork, what you think of his artwork in general. But I think he's an absolute master of this type of art. He's one of, if not the giant in the field, in my opinion. But that's it. I've talked long enough. I'm going to wrap this one up. So I'm going to say take care, be safe, and I'll catch you guys next time.